Hi, I'm Dave Filoni, Supervising Director of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and we're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi Undercover. What does that mean? Well, if you saw the 4-part arc, we know that Obi-Wan goes through some transformations. Doesn't look like Obi-Wan Kenobi for most of the arc because he is in disguise as a bounty hunter, oddly enough. It's a pretty exciting thing to do, and I got a group of my leads together who made it all happen to talk about it. So let's see what they had to say. You know, it's a funny thing when you go to shoot a character like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, he's going to die. And people say, he's not going to die because he's in Revenge of the Sith. But, you know, every now and then, it's hard for people to believe you run into kids that actually don't know that they haven't seen those movies. So for them, this is a really real event. And, you know, this is a great repurposing of our sets to do this. I especially like the little cigarettes smoking, blasting off the boxes there. That stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, this was fun to play with light around here. Just have this rooftop purple, green, red, and white.
Like the neon,
to always have that just constantly changing.
You know, some of these elements have better detail painted on them than others. We'll have to kind of look at that when we go to use them again. Oh no. You know, that's still a good fall.
That is a good fall.
No matter what you're wearing.
Yeah.
That's gonna hurt a little bit.
It's gonna leave a mark. And this was something, you know, Joel and I were trying to coordinate on the effects for this and have this thing spin to do the whole smoke, which now we're doing pretty much every time we see these things.
It's cooler that way.
Yeah,
rather
it
than
is,
landing
definitely.
on the floor.
Rather than just,
I love that shot. Love this.
Yeah.
A lot of Caravaggio and Rembrandt reference for lighting in here.
A little bit of almost a tear.
A little bit.
Yep.
Almost. She's tough though. Ahsoka's tough anymore. She needs to cry.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is fun.
The shaving.
Yeah.
The shaving.
The shaving of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Well, whatever that is, vacuum.
We
Vacuum.
referenced the Floby.
The Floby Kenobi.
It was funny. I actually just watched this episode with my kids this past weekend.
Oh, really?
And they saw Obi-Wan going bald, and they were like, "Ah, he's bald!" They were going nuts.
Really?
It was really funny.
But they could
to see
handle it.
They could handle it.
It was okay.
It was okay.
Well, time for a shave.
For anyone that's wondering, the face that's under the beard is not the face that's normally under the beard.
That's true.
Because the beard doesn't normally come
board-
off.
You don't want the face that's under the beard normally.
No. So this is a custom face. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the only time you'll see this.
That's right.
This head get used.
It's pretty good. It's like it's kind of Ewan,
It's
but
just-
it's not. It's the eyebrow and the chin.
Pretty shocking.
It's just
I
so
mean,
strange
anytime
to
you
see
see
him
anybody,
just
I mean,
out of there.
it's different. And in an animated world, it's exactly the same as it would be.
Facial transformation program loaded.
We were trying to figure out how to get Obi to kind of change his face. We kept referencing like inner
space. Yeah.
And so the way to just make him morph is just take all of his face shapes. We had this crazy
just
idea to take his
basically
face shapes and just go back and forth between all of them as fast as possible. And
This
you get
just looks
Here we go.
Yeah,
You don't
here's
like
the-
needles.
The inner space.
Transformation initiated.
That effect came out really good.
Yeah, with the blur and everything.
Yeah.
I felt the same way when the Steelers lost the Super Bowl. I just couldn't handle it. It was shaking all over, spazzing out, and just, you know. This is where Ashley Eckstein, she ad-libbed this line. I want to check his midichlorian
His
count."
midichlorian count. That's right.
Wow. I want to check his midichlorian count.
What's wrong with
pretty
her?
awesome.
That's
Gets a
pretty
laugh
funny.
wherever we are.
She's great. They're a little Ugnaught sitting at the bar. Nice to see them get out,
Yeah.
away from the carbon freezing
right.
chamber. I
Yep.
mean, you know, I love these hallways we do with all the posters and
Yeah.
the dinginess.
Still trying to get that neon light or that black light look.
Blacklight.
Challenging and
This was cool, the way it got revealed. As
Yeah.
it came into the light here, and you're like, whoa.
George asked for that big tattoo.
tattoo. That's right.
Yeah.
Right before we got going. I think we were already in production.
I think Killy and I already had the tattoo on there, and then he wanted the circle.
The circle, right?
Yeah.
Specifically added.
He also wanted it more of a birthmark looking thing and not so sort of Darth Maul tattoo, so that you weren't sure how much of that was just markings on his face.
This is your brilliant plan?
Not the first time I've broken out of this stinkhole.
So here they are running around in very definitely not just the Citadel again.
That's right.
Completely different set.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Just change the color of the light.
That panel is new.
That is.
It's,
You're right.
See, that wasn't in the Citadel.
But what's great is that you definitely, it has the right feeling.
Yeah. Oh,
it's always
definitely.
like that Death Star
That's the thing. It's
feeling.
like if you ever pay really close attention in A New Hope to the Death Star shots, you can see the set that they're shooting on. They're really clever about how they use the angles, and we've had to kind of get creative in that same way. You only have this much hallway.
Yeah.
Right.
Now
like
Vader
everything
walked
ends
down
in a
here with two
T.
TIE fighter pilots.
Yeah.
That's just where Han Luke was, earlier.
Earlier.
But it all works. I mean, that's the beauty of it. These little hats was something that I added because Clone Wars Adventures, the game, had clones wearing those hats, and I thought, my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Why didn't we think of
looks
that?
so
Hat
Star
envy,
Wars.
just raging hat envy, and you just wanted them.
We had to have it. Because kids are playing that game, their clones have hats, so now this
It's
guy
also
is the garlic
sandwich.
bread guy.
Here's our favorite. Yeah.
The legendary sandwich man.
That sandwich, I thought it was garlic bread.
It's a sandwich.
think it's a
Sizzling
sandwich.
cheese toast.
Actual yeah,
I think it
doesn't
is.
It does.
I mean, food on animation,
Yeah.
anything is hard. In 2D, it was always hard. I mean, that is, to promote, one of our sister studios at Pixar when they did Ratatouille. I mean, the food that they did is one
Absolutely.
of the miracles of the movie.
yeah.
I mean, because normally that stuff
too.
I mean, we got it said Teen's having a big banquet. She's ordering galactic KFC every time, or tofu blocks.
Or tofu blocks. That's right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean,
It's gotten better.
Yeah, and no one else would attempt to kill Cad Bane with food. I mean, that clone just threw a sandwich at him.
Yeah.
It was worth a try. You know.
It's a visual distraction.
That's right.
So much bread.
He's not a bread. He's not a gluten guy.
Yeah,
Bane,
that's true.
obviously,
Well, you can
so
tell
thin.
from his slender frame.
true.
Yeah.
This episode with They Go to Now Hutt, I really was all on board. I thought
Yeah.
Bosco did a great job.
Oh yeah.
The level of characters he got in the street really filling it.
Yep.
Makes it really feel like one of the grand old Star Wars environments you go to with all the characters walking around.
Yep.
Too many to count. And then this place, of course,
Yeah.
the land of extra prop items.
There you go. There you go.
There we
Like
go.
most obvious sort of shout outs.
Yes.
Cool though.
It is
It
cool.
is cool. Well, you
It's
liked
cool.
it.
I do like
Good.
it.
Well,
It's
you
good.
got the
It was very, very
plunket
last
approval.
minute. Actually, there's no design for that hat. That went straight into modeling.
Well,
Well,
You know, it's
come
weird
on.
though. Yeah.
if they
even
mess
so.
that up.
Well,
There's some pretty
I
good
like this
reference
hat
for
on
it.
Cad Bane.
Yeah.
I like this hat on
really
Cad
like this
Bane,
I
hat.
do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was close to keeping it, but
There's something just more dangerous about him.
it's smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it streamlines his look. Look, I like Cad because he can make even a toothpick a weapon.
The toothpick works so well with him
Yeah,
too. It's so much
does.
fun to like rattle around in the mouth and be
Like that.
pushing the shapes and constantly
Yeah.
takes
You
it
know,
from one side to the
originally-
other.
Originally,
Cleans his
and I think
bowl.
I can say this, originally it was a cigarette.
That's right.
When
Really?
we first saw Cad Bane, the first time we ever animated him, he was in a hotel, and he was standing by a window, and there was slat lighting on him.
Okay.
And he was sitting there, and his hat really low, and he went,
Yeah.
and he pulled in, and then the ember, and then it lit up.
Just yeah.
And you could see his eyes light
Right.
up and everything, and then he put out
No.
the smoke,
It
and it
was
was all.
a no.
Remember we did the render, and that went very far, and it looked really cool. But then ultimately you're doing a commercial,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you can't. I mean, you just.
Yeah.
And the toothpick still worked really well,
Yeah.
because you got to
You
play
could
with
still
it.
play with it
flicks
and
it
do
away
nice
and-
flicks and stuff and yeah.
But it was, that was a real. That's the real old Western.
yeah.
Obviously, he quit. So good on.
Good
Cad.
on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this environment here again. This is a really good bar.
The translators on those
The
guys.
translators on those
awesome.
guys were so fun.
The fugitives are already gone.
Well, that's something I'd been trying to do since Zero the Hutt. Zero the Hutt, I wanted to talk into a rickety old microphone
would be
that would
cool.
translate his Hutties into English
Right.
and spit out English. So when Bosco used the Ithorian for the bartender, I was like, well, this character has dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And Ithorians probably can't speak basic.
Right?
And he's like, well, maybe this one does. I'm like, it probably doesn't. So I drew this really crude thing really quickly,
Yeah.
and I gave it a Plunkett, and
Yeah.
Plunkett refined it, and we came up. I
It
think
worked
it's a
well.
really neat thing.
It was funny though trying to choke that guy. At first we were like, all right,
Yeah,
so
yeah, where's the
where
grab?
do we
Where?
put? What
Both
do we do?
sides.
Do we put it on his neck?
Well,
Do we put it
Jedi's
on
got to be aware of many different anatomies.
The
Exactly
weakest
right.
link
No.
in the esophagus that is his windpipe.
This fight, this whole crash, this whole thing was a very difficult thing to sell.
Yeah.
I always remember in the layout, the handout phase, that you know, just the idea that these ships could crash and then fly away again was going to be very difficult. So the way they crashed, how they looked when they crashed, the lay of the land was all going to be important to believing that Moralo Eval could get it up and running again.
Yeah.
I like this line.
You're lucky we're in a hurry, little lady. You'll have to dance another time.
Like the Dutch camera angle right
Space
here.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
nice.
So nice.
Propose everything.
It's a
Yeah.
nice shot.
Really, really
She looks
nice.
so protective over him, which is.
See, we get that lightsaber just almost yellow.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's about as yellow a green as you can get.
Yeah.
So it's still within the rules. This was Brian O'Connell's episode. The box is just phenomenal.
Yeah. An asset that was supposed to be simple, it's just a box.
Right.
It's probably the most challenging, technically for animation and for lighting, to basically be shooting in the same box every single time,
single shot. Yeah.
but have it be different.
Yep. Each level as we keep going up. Yeah.
Oh, look, he got his hat back.
Yeah. See, watch how floppy it's like.
I like the idea, though,
This
that he
guy's
loves
face.
his hat is so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a few moments, all 11 of you will enter what we call the box.
One of the problems with the box when we started discussing it in the writer's room was just lining up all the traps, you know, and Brent Freeman, the writer, had a really big challenge at trying to establish what the purpose of each of these gauntlet pieces was. And the original room with the gas was supposed to be a room that filled up with water, you know, and they were supposed to drown, hence the raising water. So at the point that we were pitching it, we decided to change it to gas because we probably couldn't do water. I think, as it turns out, we probably could have been able to do it with
I
water.
was just thinking now, like, that'd be awesome. Bubbles in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, wouldn't that have been cool?
Yeah, it would have been really cool. Well,
Wow.
there you go. Would have been cool. But, you know, we had learned by the point we produced this episode how to do water quite well, but the plan was already to have it be gas, so we stuck with gas. And Brian O'Connell, the director, and I had to sit through, and we diagrammed each of the box's traps. And I had all these maps that I made with Brian to kind of explain the rows that came out with the kind of laser lightsaber looking devices, and who should die in what box, and where it should happen, and you know, the kind of rotating with the flames and the one and the one that's always hard, and this is kind of the tip off to the audience that Brent Friedman and I discussed, is that the Parwan has to be alive.
Well, yeah,
because he has to
got
get
be
the
the one.
serum. He has to get the shield.
Yep.
He's a Parwan. His blood can take the electrolytic serum.
Are you certain?
50-50.
So what does that mean? Is it just chance then that the Parwan survives? Or is it manipulation?
Sure.
And see, that's the tip-off that what we never fully explain, which is unique for us, to leave something esoteric. What we never fully explain is the box has nothing to do with selecting the best bounty hunters for the attack. Dooku already knows which bounty hunters are going to be on this journey. He knows the Parwan's going to make it. The box is just to sift out a Jedi.
Right.
If a Jedi's in the mix. Because the Jedi won't just want to save his own life, he'll want to save the other bounty hunters. And Obi-Wan displays skills. I don't think he knows it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And what's interesting is he doesn't share that information with Cad Bane either. Because Bane is surprised when it's Kenobi at the end, when he gets captured finally. So Dooku knows the whole deception is really, this whole bounty hunter thing is just a misdirect.
Right.
So there you go.
Wow.
That doesn't, you know, I don't get much better than that. Discuss amongst yourselves.
I mean, I actually love the bounty hunters because we got to do so many unique things with them. Like, you know, Drown, we put the little blinky eyes in and stuff that we haven't done with like offset blinks and things, and all the different characters sort of got that little moment where they got a chance to shine, which I thought was really cool.
That's really fun death as well.
Yeah.
Not just fall over and die, but like twitch as you go down.
Lots of little twitches and things.
Well, we've killed so many people. We've gotten really good at that. I mean,
Yep.
you know, not every animated TV show can claim that.
No,
That's
the
very
dark room
true.
I think was awesome in that way.
Yeah. Is there an official body count? Do we know exactly
thinking we
how
should
many
start
people have
that.
died
I don't know.
since season 1.
You have to get into, is it a named character
That's
or an
true.
unnamed character?
No, I think we just go with it, like everyone that's died on
What,
screen.
clones? How would
Everyone.
everyone.
Like
Yeah.
Entertainment Weekly has something like that in the summer where they do like the
Yeah.
summer body count for all the summer movies
Really?
and things.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty
I
fun.
don't think like an exploding ship counts because you don't know. But if
No.
you see them go down on screen, then
We should make it a contest because I bet you people are counting.
What, it's like that, it's like
Like
the
right there,
jar filled with
Yeah,
jelly
yeah,
beans. How many jelly beans?
How many
How
clones are
many
in this?
deaths have been in, which season has the highest death
I
count?
bet you there's a fan out there. I bet you there's somebody out there that's counted. There's got to be. There's got to be a blog. There's
That'd be
don't
pretty
know.
funny.
really?
That'd be hard.
Really, because that would surprise you?
That well, okay, nothing
Based
really.
on all the
at
other
this
blogs.
point, it would, but
I don't know.
This picture-in-picture thing was actually also a really interesting thing for us where, we had to do so many just takes of Dooku, then you guys had to
Yeah.
put it into all these different monitors and things. And
Well, we were constantly, what's funny is you don't know this when you watch it, we're constantly changing the perspective of
Yep.
him to fit. And it was Woonchi, this one of the artists that did this, that came up with that, the way it draws on, which
right,
was
yeah.
really,
which is
really cool.
Really nice, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Really awesome.
Congratulations on surviving the box. Tomorrow you will kidnap Chancellor Palpatine at the festival on Naboo.
The shadow hologram was the concept that we always went back and forth on. I mean, it's one of those things that actually comes out of necessity because we can't create unique disguises for every character.
Right.
So what we were left with, because it wasn't necessarily written this way, we had to concoct a device that would kind of approximate the disguises that you'd see in a normal, Ocean's 11 kind of plot
Right.
or whatnot. And the guard here seemed the most likely candidate, and then we invented the shadow hologram matrix and worked it in. That Sinrich created it, and
Yep.
that it's one of those things that you hope sells. I mean, it makes sense with holographic technology that some people have figured out how to use it in more and more devious ways.
Yep.
Then you always get into that, do the Jedi sense these guys or not? And I think you always have to just accept on a certain level when things are so clouded, it gets a lot harder
harder
to
to figure everything.
Intentions get
Yeah.
hard
Yep.
to
Yeah.
sense, but I mean, because otherwise, the whole plot doesn't work. But
but this one was always going to be tricky because as soon as you read the
Kidnapping,
script and you know you're on Theed, you're
Oh, yeah.
sort of going, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because originally everything happened in that huge boulevard that's
Right.
in Ep 1, and there was just no way that
To
that was
make
going to
yeah.
happen. So
well, let alone to fill it, with
Yeah.
characters, which is why we
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
on the backside. Is everybody's on these little hovering
Platforms, yeah.
The Gungans were a late addition to the party. I don't know if you
That's
remember
right.
that.
I do remember that.
I was
That
watching this
with Anne,
episode
yeah.
and about to lock it, and I realized that there hadn't been any Gungans invited to
yeah.
this Festival
right.
of Light. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's really rude.
Yep.
So
We did those like 2 insert shots.
we
I
did some
think,
late
yeah.
editions with some Gungans watching the whole thing.
Yep.
Which is appropriate, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
Tricking the Jedi, I mean, it's so difficult, the timing of this, and we re-edited this sequence so many times when they kidnap him to make it, you know, just believable enough that you can get away with this.
And the timing with the shadow hologram effect, just so you see
That
them
was-
long
yeah.
enough.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
so tricky.
There were a lot of retakes.
Yeah, because
Going
you
back and forth.
I mean, it's confusing right
Yeah.
from the get-go. So you're like, doing everything we can to keep it together. For all this Naboo stuff, this is when we went into color correct. We grabbed high-res stills. We grabbed all the actual color corrected renders from the features and matched color for color all of Naboo.
Yeah, I mean, it's another set here that we really, had to just throw together to try and make all these locations. So we're using that hardware plant there was actually inside the Zygerian base.
yeah, it's Kadavo.
Yeah.
It's the
Kadavo,
Kadavo.
and we put it outside so it looks like some type of distillery.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those things that when you're at the writing phase and working with everybody, you think you need these buildings here. In reality, when you look at it, we would have been fine if we just sunk some of those big heads out there made of stone, because ultimately I thought we were going to go over to that place
Right.
and within it.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
script, they actually went inside this warehouse and
so,
did stuff.
but when the blocking came in from the episodic director, he hadn't taken them over there. I was like, well, we were supposed to go over there, but now we're gonna work with this, and that's kind of the challenge.
I hope this was all worth it.
We saved the Chancellor. That's the important thing.
Ultimately, what we realize is that the whole thing is a fake out on the Jedi.
Yeah.
That Dooku has conspired with Sidious to set up this whole bounty hunter plot to make the Jedi believe that they have once again saved the day. And it's all an effort to get Anakin isolated. So what I really liked about this story that, as George handed it out, was we tell this story that's really about Anakin and Palpatine trying to tempt him to the dark side.
Yep.
And we tell it more from Obi-Wan's point of view. And you see this whole other tale that's going on. And we check in with Palpatine and Anakin every now and then until finally it's really about them and their struggle.
Right.
And we see that this is a point that Anakin really wasn't ready to become the Sith apprentice. He wasn't strong enough. I think there's a possibility that Dooku would have killed him here. And that's always another thing that's been discussed. I mean, Palpatine isn't protecting Anakin ever. He's trying to see how powerful is he. And this is kind of a little litmus test. And George said that, Sidious would do this more than once. There's not just the one kidnapping of the Chancellor. That there are these kind of milestones. And when Anakin is strong enough and destroys the Count, or if he's too weak and the Count destroys him, defines his kind of status.
Right.
It's a long-term training of a Sith. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you don't just snap and suddenly, I have red eyes and I'm a Sith. I mean, it's really an elongated thing. And Anakin has been building this kind of bias against the Jedi and against, kind of the structure of the way they work for many years, as we found out in this show, which really feeds into supporting what's going on in Revenge of the Sith and why he makes the decisions he does and why he doesn't feel like when he turns on the Jedi, he's really turning on a family. He's turning on a family that he feels in a lot of ways has abandoned him, which is relevant to some things that we see in season 5. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Was this the first time that we saw Palpatine's newer outfit?
I think it is.
Because he used to have the big sort of winged shoulder pad.
Yeah, it was also the first time we saw with the eyebrow kind of thing. We changed the model a little bit so he could get more,
more
Palpatine and more emotion
The best
out of the
sequence,
face,
I think, is between him and Anakin. And
in his office?
Yeah.
You cannot deny your feelings, Anakin. They are what make you special.
That's
so
played
fantastic.
out so well,
Ian is so brilliant. I mean, every time we talk about Ian now for the next several months, as we still have footage of him portraying Palpatine. I mean, he is superb. I mean, it's so hard to find a replacement for him. You have no idea. I mean, it's he's such a singular talent.
I will make certain that sacrifice was not made in vain.
So unique and really knew the character and knew Matt Lanter well, and they, Matt coming into voice acting as Anakin, really kind of his first big voice acting job. There is kind of a mentoring that went on between him and Ian. It's a very natural thing, and
that's awesome.
When Ian's talking to you in that voice of his, and you're just looking at Lanter, and you're like, oh man, he's really going to turn him to the dark side. Luckily, we still have a lot of work from Ian to show for everybody to watch well into season 5. Ian Abercrombie will still be portraying Palpatine, even though he's passed on. We just recorded that far in advance, and I have to say his final performance comes in that one epic moment that we all know, and that's something that you're not going to want to miss. I know you won't miss it because it is his best.
Chancellor, are you all right?
Yes. Thanks again to the heroics of the Jedi.
As long as I live, no harm will ever come to you, Your Excellency.
Well, here's to your long and prosperous life, Anakin. One shudders to think where the galaxy would be without the Jedi.